It's Thursday, so what do you say we get a little recruiting talk with our old friend Karlo Zovko? We're ranking the top 10 players in the WPIAL City League for the recruiting class of 2024. You're going to want to hear this. There's some Pitt guys, some guys Pitt was definitely interested in, some guys that Pitt is going to get. It's pretty good stuff right here on the Morning Pitt. YouTube.com/Panther-Lair.com. All right, the Thursday edition of the Morning Pitt here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Doing something a little bit different, doing something a little special, something we'll probably sprinkle in and do on occasion over the course of the fall. We've got some recruiting talk today with the WPIAL insider himself. Karlo Zovko is going to be here with us ranking the top 10 recruits in the class of 2024 locally. The guys who are seniors right now in the WPIAL and the City League that you need to know about. We actually end up talking about 13 or 14 of these guys, but we ranked the top 10. You're probably not going to be surprised about who number one is, but number two might be a bit of a surprise. You definitely are going to want to hear that. Of course, you know the deal. Like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, and the website below, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. If it feels like I'm sort of anxiously rushing through the preliminaries to get to the meat of the episode, that's because I am. You've already seen the timer on this one. Excuse me, I'm so worked up, I'm coughing. It's a long one, because we talked about all these guys and some other recruiting topics as it relates to the WPIAL and Pitt and some of these top prospects and where they came from and where they're going and what they're going to be in college. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think you're going to enjoy it. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Just like this video and subscribe. And then when we're done here, head over to Panther-Lair.com to talk about what you heard and what you learned today. But just sit back, enjoy it. A little recruiting talk with our good friend, Karlo Zovko. All right, Karlo, glad to have you back. You know, before we kind of talked, the last time you joined us, we talked about your history and all that stuff. It was fun having your biographical appearance here on the Morning Pitt. But now we're getting down to the brass tacks. We're getting down to recruiting and rankings. You know the WPIAL as well as anyone, maybe better than, well, let's say as well as anyone. We don't want to offend any interested parties out there.
I'm in the top 10.
let's put you in the top 10 of WPIAL insiders on the internet. WPIAL class of 2024. These are the guys in their senior year of high school. A lot of guys in the WPIAL are already committed. I feel like almost everybody who's got like an FBS offers is pretty much committed. Certainly, you know, most of the Power 5 guys are pretty much all committed. And so I was like, we need to get a rundown on the top 10 guys in the WPIAL and the City League. Let's bring Karlo on and break it down. So let's jump into the top 10. Before we do, though, there's a couple of guys, because you shared your list ahead of time, so I could be prepared and make sure I know everybody you're talking about. But there's a couple of guys that you left out of the top 10, and I'm curious about two guys in particular, two Power 5 commitments in the WPIAL who didn't crack your top 10. One, Central Catholic D lineman going to Pitt, Ty Uhas. You know, where would he be if you were going to rank it out to, say, 20? And well, you know, what are your thoughts on Ty?
Oh, if I ranked it up to 20, he would be 11. Ty's a really, really good football player. I think that he has strengths. His strength is his strength, number one, and how much he cares. But I just think that kind of shows the depth of this class a little bit, is that, you know, I actually have 13 evaluated Power 5 football players. You know, I think another guy who didn't make the list is Tyrie Alua at North Allegheny, linebacker. I think he's a Power 5 football player. Now, he might not get a Power 5 offer, but he has a couple Group of 5 offers. I think he has a fake Oregon offer. I don't know what that one is, but yeah, I think
did his dad go to Oregon? I'm trying to think.
It's something like that. But he plays with his hair on fire. He's fast. He's twitchy. I don't understand the lack of recruitment there, but yeah, I actually think he's another Power 5 football player, but he would be 12. And then Zach Ludwig is currently committed to Michigan. He would be 13. And you know, I just don't know enough about Ludwig, really. Haven't really seen him in person. I know he's big, rangy, and athletic, but that just separates him a little bit. I just think the change of direction and speed isn't exactly where the other guys are at. But yeah, he's another Power 5 football player. So I think there's two committed elsewhere that are Power 5, but I think Alua could be a Power 5 football player. So I think that there's 13 legit bona fide guys in the WPIAL this year that should be playing Power 5 football. Not all of them will play Power 5 football. That's just the facts of the situation. But that how I see it, I see 13. So
I mean, I know you run deep on the WPIAL, but when Ludwig committed, I don't even know when he actually committed to Michigan. The first article we have on him on Rivals was maybe in January, but it sounds like he had committed a couple months before that. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I know you were probably aware of him, but were you like, why? And obviously, there's a family connection he's got to the Michigan strength staff,
yeah,
which
yeah. He has a
pretty
family connection up
familiarity.
there.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the way he did it. Just he didn't tell anybody, he didn't tweet anything. It kind of makes me want to root for him, and I hope he's like an all-conference player up there. I kind of like the way he did it. Just if it was up to him, I bet you he would just have and fax his NIL in on sign or NLI on signing day. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's awesome. It kind of shows the type of guy he is, and I think it shows the type of people Michigan is recruiting, which is good, tough people who don't care about getting pats on the back and likes and retweets. So yeah, good for him.
And who knows, because of his lack of social media activity, he might have gotten 15 more Power 5 offers since then. I don't think he has, but
yeah, he very well might
have. Yeah, he's not tweeting him out. He's not tweeting him out.
Very well might have.
All right, let's move to the top 10. Tell me your number 10 player here, number 10 in the WPIAL City League for the class of 2024.
Number 10, I have Eastern Michigan commit Braden Locks, and he's committed to a group of 5 school. He's playing out of position right now at Bell Vernon. So they have him playing at quarterback, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's going to be another Bell Vernon player on it. But in a high school offense, a lot of the times it's like, hey, we need our best player at the quarterback position just making plays. And I think that's kind of what it is a little bit at Bell Vernon. He's not their best player, but he is, he's a top 2 player there. But he can throw it a little bit as well. And in a high school offense, you got to get the ball in this kid's hands as much as possible. I kind of compared him to JP Holtz a little bit coming out. Now, JP was better. JP kind of did everything to an elite level, but that's kind of what Braden is. He's not as strong as JP was, but he certainly is as tough as JP was. Not as fast as JP was, but he's close. But I think he has good enough ball skills. I think he shows enough defensively when he's in the box that he's a tough kid. I would imagine he could block very well, but I think he's a tight end at the next level. That's what Eastern Michigan took him. I agree with it. They're kind of banking on him being able to block, but once again, I think he shows enough on defense. Like he likes getting his face mask in near the ball. I think he's a tough kid. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a great evaluation by Eastern Michigan, and I'm interested to see, as his senior year progresses, because he's already, he has 2 games under his belt and he's playing very well. I'm interested to see who might take a stab at him. So because that's going to be one that teams will circle back on and check his senior year.
You put a Power 5 grade on him, even though he's committed to Eastern Michigan?
I do have a Power 5 grade on him, yeah.
Okay. All right. Number 9, familiar name. We know this one.
Number 9, Peter Gonzalez. I like Peter. He's big, he's physical, and he's much faster than people give him credit for. He has a verified track time at 10.7. He has a verified 40-yard dash. I think it was like 4.5, something like that, 4.50. He can move for how big he is. Can catch a contested catch. He had an awesome one-handed grab against St. Ignatius. So, yeah, I like Peter. I think I think he can improve catching the ball, but that comes with time. That comes with repetition. But from a physical standpoint, you can see why Penn State took this kid. He jumped very well for Penn State as well. I don't know if they do the broad jump or the triple jump, something like that. But yeah, he tested off the charts. So I think this is a big physical athlete with a lot more speed than he's given credit for. And I think Penn State's going to love what they get with him. I don't think he'll come in and play immediately, but year 2, year 3, year 4, people are going to be looking and saying, wow, Peter's playing at a high level right now. So yeah, I like Peter. It kind of shows the depth of the class.
Yeah. Number 8 is an interesting guy. Who do you have at number 8 here?
Number 8, I have Jason Cross.
Mm-hmm.
I like Cross. He's big, tall, rangy defensive back. And the thing I love most about him is in high school, he plays offense. I think defensive players that you get the ball in their hands and they can go, I think that says something, because at the next level, These guys always find a way to around the ball. You know, they're always turnover machines. He's very comparable to Dane Jackson. I think Dane had more speed though. But when you think about tall, long, rangy DB, he's a cover two DB. For sure, a Power Five football player. He doesn't fit every defensive scheme, but the schemes that he does fit, I think he will excel. I think West Virginia is getting a good one. Yeah, we'll see how he plays the senior year. He went to the WPIAL title last year, hoping he goes and finishes it off this year. But yeah, Jason Cross, I have him slotted right there.
I think it's interesting you point him out as a cover two DB, and I think that probably answers a question that a lot of people have of why, you know, he's got a West Virginia offer, he commits there, but he didn't have an offer from Pitt. I mean, I think if you put it that way, he's a DB who fits in a cover two system. It kind of makes a little bit more sense. Would you say the same thing about the guy you have at number 7? You see a similar player here?
Clinton Robinson. So a little bit, yes. Now, I like Clinton Robinson a little bit more. I think Syracuse is really good at evaluating defensive backs, a lot better than anybody in the nation gives them credit for. They have a couple guys drafted, and they have a couple guys starting at Ohio State and LSU this year that they lost via the portal. So they kind of know what they like at defensive back, and he kind of fits what they've taken recently. He's not a speed guy, he's not a burner, but he comes down hard. He's physical. He hits. He has really, really good ball skills. In his hips, he opens up his hips very well too. So, yeah, I think that's one that people will look back on and say, he went to Syracuse, you know. But I can see why bigger Power Five schools haven't offered him. He doesn't really open and run like you'll want him to. But once again, I think Syracuse has something going on with their DBs that they like what they see, and I can see why they like what they see. I kind of compare him to Kenny Robinson a little bit. I always thought he reminded me of Kenny, and Kenny everybody thought was going to play linebacker, outside linebacker in the box. A lot of schools wanted him there. West Virginia played him in their safety, almost kind of a nickel, and then he was just so good that they just kept him at safety for his final year there. But I could see that being Clinton. Clinton is physical enough to play in the box. If he gains weight, he will play in the box. But yeah, I kind of like where he's at athletically. He can gain a couple pounds and still be DB. But you know, if he gets bigger, stronger, faster at an immense rate, I wouldn't be surprised to see him at outside linebacker. That's how physical he is, and he reads and diagnoses plays pretty well too. So yeah, I really like Clinton.
It's interesting with Cross and Robinson. Cross is at Bishop Canevin and Robinson's at Keystone Oaks. I mean, you know, it's been a long time since Miles Carrigan and Chris Jacobson. You know, Keystone Oaks hasn't had guys, and I feel like Canevin, I'm seeing more and more over the last maybe 2 years or so. Guys getting offers. I don't know if it necessarily the talent changed or they're just getting more exposure or whatever it is, but it's interesting to see those two schools show up.
I think they're bringing in a little better players from their 8th grade programs up to the high school. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Okay. All right. Number 6, a school that we've heard plenty from here. Your offensive lineman from Pine Richland.
Yeah, Ryan Corey. And this guy being at number 6 should tell you how good the WPIAL is this year. He's just a tough SOB that, you know, you would love to have on your football team. And him going to Wisconsin makes perfect sense because that's kind of like Wisconsin's MO. You know, they're going to overpower you. They're going to run the ball. They're going to get physical. And that's exactly all this kid's strengths. So I think he found the right fit. I think he's going to do great up there. And I know Cade Yacamelli's up there. So, I think Wisconsin's a good fit for this kid. If you think like Jake Cradle, I think Cradle was a tad more explosive in high school. I think Cradle would have been probably 4 or 3 on this list. Ryan is 6, but he's very similar to Cradle. I don't think he's a tackle. I think he's a guard center, but probably a guard because he moves very well. But yeah, I like Ryan Corey. I like what Wisconsin's getting in him, and he fits their identity perfectly.
It's interesting. Even extending out to look at the guys from the WPIAL who are committed to FBS schools, there's only 2 offensive linemen that I could see, Ryan Corey and Zach Tomasovich, I guess it's pronounced, from Penn Trafford going to Army. They're
Yeah,
pretty much the only. Oh, I don't know if you have anybody else that's sort of lingering out there that you have an FBS or Power Five grade on, but I mean, those are the only O linemen I could see from this year.
I don't. I think it's a really, really good year for the FCS D2 levels. The WPIAL is deep right now for whatever reason in FCS D2. I think you're going to see Duquesne and a couple other Youngstown State. Those guys are probably going to clean up, and then of course the PSAC is like that's like the SEC of the of the Division II conference, and a big reason is because they get a lot of WPIAL kids, and that's kind of what WPIAL kids are. So yeah, I think it's a really good year for those guys. Just a lot of like 6-footers, 6'1" guys. But you gotta be able to be big and move to play Power Five football, and Ryan certainly is that.
Yeah. All right. Ryan Corey, like we said, going to Wisconsin, number 5 on the list here. Another Big Ten guy.
Number 5 is probably a guy that I would say I was wrong about, and that's Cole Sullivan, Central Catholic linebacker going to Michigan. This kid has the highest upside on the list for sure. I don't know what he's going to be in regards to a linebacker or defensive end up there, because he's going to grow and he's going to get bigger. But I went and watched Central Catholic versus Woodland Hills, and this guy's flying around. And they were playing him at slot receiver as well. And that should kind of tell you they can put him in the slot and he can go, but he reads and diagnoses so fast. He's to the hole before anybody else is. So I like this kid a lot. He has super high upside. I wouldn't be surprised to see him drafted the highest in 4 years. But yeah, I like what Michigan's getting, but he has some weight to put on, and they're going to do that. That's what Michigan does. They're really good at that. They're really good at projecting up there. So I can see why they love this guy. But yeah, he's faster than I gave him credit for. He's more physical than I gave him credit for. Yeah, he's a good player. I think 5 is too low for him. I think he's one that I'm going to look back on in a couple years and say, yeah, he probably should have been number 2. So, but yeah, he's 5 right now. But I like him a lot. His rating might change by the end of the season.
Oh, okay. Maybe he'll flip with this next guy who just so happens to be linebacker on the same team.
Yeah. So at number 4, I have Anthony Speck at Central Catholic. He's going to Penn State. I've heard about this kid since he's been in 8th grade. I feel like this kid's 30 years old right now.
He's been as big as he is now since he was in 8th grade.
Yeah,
he's been that big ever since he started high school.
He's athletic. He's a playmaker. Just one of those guys that's always around the ball. I think he's going to be a Mike linebacker. I don't think he's going to be outside, but he could play outside. He's athletic enough to play outside. But I think the way he reads and diagnoses, I think he's a Mike backer, and he'll probably be able to line everybody else up anyway. But yeah, he's just your typical Big Ten linebacker, going to stuff the run, going to be okay in pass coverage, but his deal is stuffing the run and getting after the quarterback. But he's athletic enough to make plays in the pass game. So yeah, he's going to be. I can see why he's a 4-star guy. He's fun to watch.
I not to get into too much hyperbole, but when you think of position groups in the WPIAL right now, I mean, Central Catholic linebackers, you just named 2 that are in the top 5 of the 24 class, right? Bradley Gompers, who is looks like a basketball player. I mean, he's tall and skinny like a basketball player. He's in the 25 class. He's got Colson Gatton, right, in the 26, and then what's his name, who just transferred in as a freshman.
They have a 27.
I mean, it seems like they are loaded at linebacker, right?
And they're all kind of different players, right, too. Is the cool part about that. So yeah, you're gonna look back in 10 years and look at that linebacker room and be like, "Holy smokes, Central! Where did Central get all these linebackers from?"
Yeah,
but you can't really pray a little bit, and linebackers pop up on your practice field, I guess is what it is.
I'm trying to think of what would compare, Brandon Eiffel and Colin Christian played in the same secondary at Penn Hills, or even at Central with DeMar and Bryson and those guys. But it's 5 guys that are
it's unprecedented right now. And it's it's tough to crack that lineup at linebackers. So yeah, it's unprecedented.
I mean, you should not be able to score many points on Central this year, which
no,
not with those linebackers.
We'll see if that holds true.
Yeah, it's a long season. All right, keeping in the linebacker theme, let's have three in a row here. Number three on the list.
Number 3 on the list is Aliquippa linebacker Cam Lindsay. I like Cam. He's another one that keeps rising in my mind. When I ranked these guys a year or two ago, he would have probably been 7 or 8. He keeps getting better. He keeps getting bigger. He keeps getting faster. Plays with his hair on fire. I would hate to be a receiver to run over the middle and try to catch a pass on this guy. He'll knock your head off. I was just at the Aliquippa Armstrong game, and once again, this goes back to the defensive guys playing offense. They're putting him at running back. He's taking it 80 yards to the house. So that speaks to the volume of athleticism that he has. Like, number one, he's playing at Aliquippa. Number two, they're giving him the rock at Aliquippa as well. So that kind of tells you. And they have a freak show in the backfield at Tyke Hayes, who's a junior. But yeah, that Cam Lindsay is one hell of an athlete to watch, and he's going to be great in Pitt's defense. He's just going to come off the edge and and go kill. He's a lot like Bengali Kamara in a way. So yeah, and I know Pitt likes guys like that. So
yeah, right. So I mean, is that the athleticism? And is that what separates him from like Specca and Sullivan? As you order
that's what separates him and Specca and Sullivan. And once again, when I re-rank this at the end of the year after they play their senior years, Cole Sullivan might be number 2 or number 3, so he could jump him. But once again, that was because I think I might have underestimated Cole Sullivan's athletic ability.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the linebacker trio of Cam Lindsay, Anthony Specca, and Cole Sullivan. It's a shame they're all going different places because they all complement each other perfectly. So if they stayed together, that would be awesome. But I think Cam right now is the best of the bunch by a narrow margin. But I do think Cole Sullivan still has the most upside. So who knows if he'll get bigger, stronger, faster, and be that. But right now I have Cam Lindsay a little bit above them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it can't all be like 2021 when Nakai Johnson and Elliot Donald and Dorian Ford all stayed and went to the same class, which
right.
I mean, sort of feels kind of comparable in terms of like, I felt like at that point that was one of the best collections of D tackles I'd seen in the WPIAL in a long time, and this sort of feels the same as far as a collection of linebackers. I mean,
and what's funny is that they're all completely different in terms of on the field and off the field. Like they all live in completely different places. All their personalities are a little bit different as well. So yeah, they're 3 that I think would gel together well. But yeah, they're 3 totally different players and different people. So that's you don't get that very often.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's Nakai, Elliott, and Dorian again, right? I mean, like playing wise, I mean, those are 3 very different defensive linemen.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, number 2, and this, I mean, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a little polarizing, but
yeah, it will be polarizing. Number 2 is Julian Duggar, Penn Hill's quarterback, committed to Pitt. I have been way high on Duggar for a long time, since he's been in about 9th grade. I can remember texting people at other companies that rank players saying this kid will be a top 50 kid. I actually gave 2 names, Julian Duggar and our number 1 player, who is a top 50 kid. But that's what I think he is, athletic for athleticism wise. He's not Terrell Pryor, but the things that he does on the field only Pryor could do. And another one is Phil Dracovic. He's not Phil Dracovic, but the only other people in the WPIAL that can do what he does are Phil Dracovic and Terrell Pryor. Just athletically, he can will a team to win. He can tuck the ball and run whenever he wants to, and he's probably a 4.6, 4.5, 40-yard dash guy. And when I say these numbers, these aren't BS numbers. These are numbers that I know is what it is. He's a southpaw, that scares some OCs away, and I know for a fact that has scared multiple Power 5 coordinators away. And I think Pitt took him. I think it's genius. I think he's going to light it up. He had in week 0 from the opposite hash mark, he had like a 30 there at the 38-yard line. He threw it into the end zone, which is about a 55, 60-yard throw on the money receiver in stride, DB all over the receiver, and just dropped it in the bucket. He continues to get better every single year as a quarterback. His peak isn't even close to where he's at right now. And the best part about him is even if he's not a quarterback, he's a power five safety, he's a power five linebacker, probably a power five receiver as well. That's how he is athletically. He has huge hands. His wingspan is nuts. I mean, I can go on and on about the guy. All you have to do, you don't even have to watch him play football. Go watch him play basketball. The good evaluators can watch a kid play basketball and can tell you if they can play football or not. This kid is one of those kids. So yeah, I'm going to be higher on him than most. I don't care. I'll take it to the grave. He's my number 2 right now. There's a chance Cole Sullivan could be number 2 at the end of the year, and that's a testament to Cole Sullivan, not a knock on Duggar.
Right.
But right now I have it as Julian Duggar. Since they were freshmen, I thought Duggar was number 2 in the WPIAL and Quentin Martin was number 1 in the WPIAL. I'm going to keep it the same way. I don't see it differently. And I might not see it differently by the end of their senior year, but I think Pitt got a complete steal with this kid. When when he committed, I was doing backflips. So yeah, I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm gonna say the kid is a top 100 athlete in the nation, not top 10 WPIAL players, top 100 athlete in the nation. So
okay.
yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Do you want to see him throw more, though? 34 pass attempts in the first 2 games, 3 touchdowns, less than 300 yards total in the first 2 games of this year. And I mean, part of that is Penn Hills, but I mean, yeah,
it doesn't matter.
But don't you want to see him do a little bit more? I mean, like, doesn't he need to show it a little bit in games? I mean,
they're 2-0 right now. Everybody has them ranked as the number 1 5A team in Western PA. When he has to throw it, I promise you he will throw it. I don't think they hide him at any point. Some coaches like running the rock. I don't even think we're going to see the real Julian Duggar until playoff time, truthfully, because then I think he will want to tuck the ball and run more and kind of go, because he knows and they know at Penn Hills if he goes down, their season is almost done. So I would say playoff time is when you really will get to evaluate Julian Duggar and see his team will his team to win. All you have to do is go watch the Central Catholic film from last year. It's a shame that they lost that game on that fluke play. I don't know if you would remember or not, but Central kicked like a 50-some yard field goal to win the game. Penn Hills blocked it. The ball was still alive, technically. Penn Hills was celebrating. Central Catholic picked it up and ran. Julian Duggar to win that game, hobbled, was on one ankle, took his team right down the field, and then scored, and then took the 2-point conversion in himself, doing a front flip over the Central Catholic defender. I mean, it was so impressive. So I could go on and on about the kid. I don't want to bore you guys. I know some of your subscribers don't agree. I don't care. He's my number 2 guy. He's been my number 2 guy for 4 years now. So that's just what it is.
I mean, this whole thing was just to set up to find out where you would rank him, so you would talk about him a lot more. Because there's only so much I can say. People need to hear it from someone with a little bit more on their resume than me when it comes to evaluating guys. So
here's what you didn't know: he has 1 Power 5 offer. I've been wrong before. I very well could be wrong. I don't think I am, but time will tell. I think if he's a righty, I think he has a lot more offers. As crazy as that sounds, but it's the truth. But yeah, time will tell. We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see. Ultimately, we'll see about all these guys. But you're standing on the table for Jules.
I know this. In the last week, an SEC recruiting staff member texted my phone saying, "Holy smokes, you were right about Julian Duggar." I said he wasn't at the SEC before. He kind of just got hired there within the last couple months. But I guess they already have a quarterback commit anyway. But I guess he was just watching QBs, and he texted me like, "Holy smokes, you were right about it." I said, "I know. If he's a righty, he has 30 offers."
Well, so. I mean, hey, I guess he was impressed with the film of him running for 100 yards against Norwin. I mean,
well, that's another thing with the passing attempts. I don't think it really matters. It's about what they do with the attempts that they have. And like I said, like the 38-yarder on a dime across the field to the corner of the end zone, That's all you need to see. There's 5 kids in the whole nation that can make that throw, and Duggar's one of them. So things like that, like you can't coach, you can't teach. It's just you have it or you don't. He's blessed enough to have it, and he's worked his ass off to have it. So yeah, I think his quarterback coach is doing a hell of a job. So like I said, what the Julian Duggar you see today will be a lot different than the Julian Duggar you see in 3 years. So
All right. Well, we probably end up talking about number two a lot more than we're going to talk about number one. But I mean, you already said, I mean, and everybody would have already known it from the start. Quentin Martin, Bell Vernon athlete.
yeah.
First, I mean, obviously, what makes him number one, and where's he? What does he do in college? Where does he play in college? What position?
So Quentin Martin to me, I've said this on a couple different radio shows now, but he's the best player in the WPIAL since Miles Sanders, and that's not taken lightly. You know, there's been a lot of greats come through, and he's certainly up there with Miles. The things he can do, the speed, the burst, the power, as well as he's 6'1.5", 6'2". He's very comparable to Doran Dickerson, but he's bigger and longer than Doran Dickerson. So that gives him a little bit more versatility. Doran ended up being a tight end at Pitt. This kid could be a tight end if he wanted to be tomorrow. Really, I thought when I first evaluated him, he was a defensive player. I thought he was a linebacker or safety or corner, just depending on how he grew. Mind you, I evaluated him. He was a freshman. He's just one of those kids that's so special. You have to get the ball in his hands. You are wasting away your opportunity that you have this guy if he's not at running back or receiver or tight end. I know Bell Vernon does awesome jobs with him, getting him the ball out of the backfield. He could be a Power 5 receiver if he wanted to in a second. Same thing with tight end, same thing with linebacker, same thing with corner and safety. How many kids do you know that can do that? There's not many. So he's a special athlete. You know, I'm trying to go to as many Bell Vernon games as I can this year because he only has 1 year left in the WPIAL, and you know you're not going to see a guy like him come through for another 10 years. So yeah, I think Quentin is that level player. I think Penn State got an absolute gem, a diamond, if you will. But yeah, he's easily the number one player in the WPIAL, and anybody that says he is not just doesn't know the WPIAL very well. So,
Yeah,
and I don't think anybody has said that he's not the number one player. So, but
that's
yeah,
that's a consensus for sure. That was an easy one. It was more about I was more curious about who you're going to rank 2 through 10. To be honest, I knew who number one was. I had a feeling on most of these names, but I was like, how are they going to get ordered? Number one, it's almost like it's just a formality at this point.
And here's how easy it is. Okay. And you can call Matt Humbert, the head coach at Bell Vernon. He will tell you the story to be true. When I called Coach Humbert, because I was going to offer Quentin Martin, he was a freshman. It was the couple days after they had just lost to Aliquippa in the semis. They almost upset Aliquippa in the playoffs, and he was a big reason for it. He had a pick six. He had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Nobody had known about this kid. I can remember. I'm old school. I go through the paper, the Post Gazette, okay, and I can remember seeing this Q Martin all over the Aliquippa score, but it was at Bell Vernon. I said, I haven't seen this kid at all this year. Dane Andon was their running back. He was a senior. He was out that game. He had rushed for like 1,600 yards his senior year. So this freshman gets in there, and it's Quentin Martin. I put on this tape. Not only is he running the ball like a maniac against Aliquippa, he's the lead fullback going up in there murdering guys. I'm like, holy smokes. I remember calling Matt Humbert saying, yeah, we're going to offer Quentin Martin. He said, really? He said, I didn't think you would get an offer or two in another year or so. I said, oh, coach, he's going to be a top 50 All-American. And he said, I said, I don't think you know when you know. But that's how easy it is to evaluate these these types of players. You can tell from their freshman year. So when all these, when Alabama and Ohio State, I just giggle when they say developed here. It's like, oh, you developed a top 10 player. Like, come on. Yeah, no, you didn't screw up the top 10 player. That's what it is.
Right. They always say the easiest ones, like it's easy to see the 5 stars and it's easy to see the 2 stars. It's figuring out which 3 stars are the ones that can actually like play and speed. And those are the guys that, get coached up. That's where the evaluation and the coaching actually comes in. But all right, last one, and I mean, really, like just a minute or two. I've kept you way longer than Zoom would allow, and way longer than I said we were going to do this. But just overall, this class in the Whoopi, I mean, we've talked a few times about it being deep. I mean, what do you like? What's the you go back over the classes, like this is the strongest class since. I mean, you go back as far as like 2017 or something more recent.
No, 2017 was much better.
Mhm.
2017 had more star power, I think. It's tough because it's better than the 2018 class, better than the 2019 class, better than the 2020 class. The 2021 class was really good. I think it's comparable to that class,
Mhm.
but yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Within the last since I've been ranking WPIAL kids since 2013, I would say it's in the top. That's 11 years, and that's top 5. But it's probably 5 or 4. I don't think it's 1, 2, or 3, but it's probably 5 or 4. I don't have the numbers to kind of dig in. I didn't really dig in to check it out, but yeah,
Sprung that question on you out of
yeah.
nowhere. I guess 21 had those 3D linemen like we talked about: Derek Davis, Donovan McMillan,
McMillan, Steph Hall. People
Steph Hall.
forget about Steph Hall now.
Hey,
Don't forget about Steph
now he's
Hall.
lining up next to him, right? I mean, they're playing
Wow.
together. McMillan and Hall together finally. Well, he was like a ghost. Like nobody knew anything about it. He never went to any camps. He never did anything. He just sort of existed. And then that was the COVID year too. So like,
Yeah, it was a COVID year, so nobody really knew. Yeah.
right. And it's like, who is this Steph? He existed as like a direct message. That was the only thing I knew about Steph Hall. I don't even know if I ever spoke to him. It was all direct messages. So
I don't think he had a cell phone either. It was
probably not. I mean,
until
like
his senior year or something like that. Yeah. So
yeah, I had better luck getting a hold of his brother, Juwan, right? Because he was the JUCO receiver. I interviewed him. I had more luck interviewing him than I did with Steph. But now he's here and he's playing and it's fun and all that. All right, Karlo, that's great. Great stuff as always. We'll do this again in a little while. We'll go over the 2025 class. That'll be even more interesting.
Perfect. Yeah, looking forward to it. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, man. Good luck with everything. We will talk to you again soon.
I'll see you.
All right, there you have it. I don't think number 1 was any surprise. I think we knew Quentin Martin was going to be number 1 going into it. But how about number 2? And like Karlo said, he might not be number 2 by the end of the season, but he's number 2 right now. And I honestly, I don't think anyone likes Julian Duggar as much as Karlo likes Julian Duggar. Like, I don't even know if Julian Duggar's family members like Julian Duggar as much as Karlo likes Julian Duggar. He's just really sold on him. He really believes in his potential and his athletic ability and his, how he stacks up as a college prospect. And he's really excited about what he's going to be at Pitt. I thought that stuff was really interesting, of course. And then everything we talked about there. I thought it was really interesting stuff. 1 through 10, plus a couple of those other guys, Ty Uhas, Zach Ludwig, Tyree Alu from North Allegheny. I mean, I thought it was a really interesting conversation. Like I said, we're going to bring Karlo back. We'll get into the 2025 class, the 26 class, and some other sort of recruiting topics. We'll bring him in from time to time. I think it'd be good to have him chime in on some recruiting stuff. Because he's really good. He knows his stuff. He knows the WPIAL as well as anyone, and so we're going to tap into that knowledge as often as we can. So thanks to Karlo for joining us. Thanks to you for watching the video today. Make sure you like this video and subscribe, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, and head over to the website. That's where the message boards are at Panther-Lair.com, and we're going to be talking about the top 10 WPIAL kids, according to Karlo, his rankings, what you think of them, and what you think of the recruits, and all kinds of stuff. So go over there, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com for the most comprehensive source of Pitt sports news. I'm going to cut it right there. It's been a long one. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks to Karlo for joining us. Tomorrow we'll have our Morning Pitt mailbag and get you ready for Pitt Cincinnati on Saturday at Acrisure Stadium. So thanks again. Hope you've had a great week so far. Hope you have a great Thursday. And we will talk to you tomorrow morning for the Morning Pit right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.